Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for Kid Convos. My name is Ross, and I'm coming to you live from Mote Marine Laboratory. Now, this week's Kid Conversation was looking at if a turtle can leave its shell. That's a really good question. Now, the neat thing about sea turtles is that the shell is one of their defining characteristics. When you think of turtles, you think of shells. But the interesting thing is that turtles actually can't come out of their shell. In fact, the shell is part of their body. Now, here I have a sea turtle shell. Now, the neat thing about sea turtle shells is that they're made up of two different types of materials. They have these really hard, bony plates that are called scutes. And then covering the scute is a little layer of keratin. Now, keratin is the same stuff that our hair and our fingernails are made out of, believe it or not. So these scutes are made out of bone covered with a fingernail-like coating. Now, the interesting thing is, if you look at the inside of a sea turtle shell, you can actually see that the backbone is connected. So a sea turtle's spine runs right along the center of their shell. Now, if this is the spine, what do you think all of these lines are on the sides? Well, if you guessed rib bones, you are absolutely right. So sea turtle shells are essentially a big blown out rib case. Now, the cool thing about sea turtles is that because their bones are attached to their shell and their rib cage is part of that shell, they can actually feel things that are attached or growing on their shells. So to prove that point, we actually have a special guest with us today. So I'm going to put this shell down and I'm going to bring up our special guest for today. So our guest is Sam, the box turtle. Now, Sam the box turtle is a sea turtle cousin. Now, one of the most distinguishing features of Sam is that if you notice his adorable little feet, you will see he has long, sharp claws. Now, a sea turtle has big, flat flippers that allow him to swim in the water. So Sam actually can't swim at all. Not all turtles can move in the water, but instead, Sam's really good at climbing. He can move along land really well. But one of Sam's special characteristics is that if you look at the bottom of his shell, which is called the plastron, you can actually see that there's a little hinge right here. Now, what makes box turtles so special is that they're one of the only turtles that can actually pull their body inside of their shell. So now that we know that turtles are attached to their shell and can't come out of it, some turtles can withdraw their body into their shell. Sea turtles can't, though. There's just not enough room. Their shell is much too thin, which lets them swim really fast. However, Sam, he's kind of like a big mobile home. So he brings his whole day with him, and then if he sees a predator that's too big, he'll just duck inside of his little backpack-like shell. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that kid conversation. Join us next week for some more kid conversations and more science with us here at Mote. Bye, everyone.